Welcome to TRN Podcast, episode 151.
Great to be here.
Today we're looking at the ARD talk show Hart, aber, from April 28th, 2025. The big question they tackled was, tariff war and economic slump. Can Merz bring an upswing?
Yeah, quite the title. It really zeroes in on the chaotic U.S. tariff policies under Trump and, what that actually means for Germany.
Exactly. And this discussion, recorded in Cologne, brought together quite a mix of guests to unpack this whole situation.
It's definitely a pressing issue, especially for an export-heavy economy like Germany's. So who did they have on the panel?
Well, first up, Ralph Brinkhaus from the CDU, member of the Bundestag, involved in the coalition agreement talks. He's seen as a key financial mind in the party.
Right, so his perspective on fiscal policy in this kind of environment would be pretty central, I'd imagine, coming from that coalition negotiation background, too.
Absolutely. Then, offering perhaps a different viewpoint, was Philipp Termer. He's the federal chairman of the Jusos, the SPD's youth wing.
Ah, okay. So likely bringing in maybe a contrasting take on economic strategy, perhaps more focus on state intervention or social aspects during a slowdown.
Could be. You often get, different priorities from the younger generation within parties. His input probably added an interesting dimension.
For sure. And they didn't just have politicians.
No, not at all. They brought in Vera Bokenbrink, who's the managing director of Stahlwille, a tool company based in Wuppertal.
Oh, interesting. So a direct business perspective, someone feeling the heat potentially from tariffs and any economic cooling.
Exactly. Companies like that, especially in manufacturing, often deal with international supply chains and markets. Her experience on the ground level is vital.
Yeah, you need that real-world input to understand the actual impact beyond the political debates.
Then there was Maja Gopal, a political economist and author. She likely provided more of a systemic analysis, looking at the bigger picture.
Right. Connecting the dots between global trade dynamics, national policy, maybe even environmental or social factors. Her kind of expertise helps frame the whole issue.
Definitely. And adding another business angle was Karsten Maschmeyer. He's known as an entrepreneur and an international startup investor.
Okay. So his focus might be more on the challenges, but also maybe the opportunities for new or growing businesses in this kind of uncertain climate.
Precisely. How do innovative companies adapt? Are there new models emerging because of these pressures? That kind of insight.
Makes sense, especially since stability and open markets are usually pretty key for startups.
And finally, representing the workers' perspective, they had Luigi Catapano. He's described as a third-generation VW employee and a works council member with IG Metall.
Ah, very important, especially from a major industry like automotive, which is so central to the German economy and often feels these global shifts very directly.
Yeah, the voice of labor, thinking about job security, working conditions.
Yeah.
That's crucial when you're talking economic downturns and trade conflicts.
Absolutely. Those concerns need to be front and center.
So the core of the discussion really seemed to be, how are these international trade issues hitting the German economy? And tied to that, the question of whether Friedrich Merz could actually steer things towards an upswing.
It's such a complex web, isn't it? Global forces, domestic politics, industry concerns, worker anxieties, all tangled together.
Totally. And the Hart, aber, panel, with this diverse lineup, likely brought out a whole range of different proposed solutions and assessments of the situation.
You'd expect quite a debate, especially around that central question about Merz's potential role in fostering an economic recovery. That was probably the thread tying it all together.
It really highlights the challenges. You had perspectives from established politics, youth wings, large industries, small business investors, labor, academia.
A real cross-section. It shows there aren't simple answers when you're dealing with tariff wars and economic headwinds simultaneously.
So wrapping this up, the show presented this spectrum of views on tackling a potential trade conflict and economic slowdown.
And kept circling back to that question of leadership and whether Merz specifically has the strategy to navigate Germany through it.
It leaves you thinking, doesn't it? As you listen, consider just how interconnected our economy is with the wider world and how many different factors and viewpoints come into play when looking for a way forward, something to mull over.